Chapter 1, Section 13 of the Greek View of Life by Goldsworthy Lowes Dickinson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Martin Geeson. Chapter 1, Section 13. Ethical Criticism. The incongruity of all this with any adequate conception of deity is patent if once the critical attitude be adopted, and it was adopted by some of the clearest and most religious minds of Greece. Nay, even orthodoxy itself did not refrain from a genial and sympathetic criticism. Aristophanes, for example, who, if there had been an established church, would certainly have been described as one of its main pillars, does not scruple to represent his birds as issuing a warning and notices formerly given to Jove and all others residing in heaven, forbidding them ever to venture again to trespass on our atmospheric domain with scandalous journeys, to visit a list of Alcmenas and Semeles. If they persist, we warn them that means will be taken, moreover, to stop their gallanting and acting the lover. And Heracles the glutton, and Dionysus, the dandy and the coward, are familiar figures of his comic stage. The attitude of Aristophanes, it is true, is not really critical but sympathetic. It was no more his intention to injure the popular creed by his fun than it is the intention of the cartoons of Punch to undermine the reputation of our leading statesmen. On the contrary, nothing popularizes like genial ridicule, and of this Aristophanes was well aware. But the same characteristics of the god which suggested the friendly burlesque of the comedian were also those which provoked the indignation and the disgust of more serious minds. The poet Pindar, for example, after referring to the story of a battle in which it was said gods had fought against gods, breaks out into protest against a legend so little creditable to the divine nature. O my mouth, fling this tale from thee, for to speak evil of gods is a hateful wisdom, and loud and unmeasured words strike a note that trembleth upon madness. Of such things talk thou not, leave war and all strife of immortals aside. And the same note is taken up with emphasis and reiterated in every quality of tone by such writers as Euripides and Plato. The attitude of Euripides towards the popular religion is so clearly and frankly critical that a recent writer has even gone so far as to maintain that his main object in the construction of his dramas was to discredit the myths he selected for his theme. However that may have been, it is beyond controversy true that the deep religious sense of this most modern of the Greeks was puzzled and repelled by the tales he was bound by tradition to dramatise, and that he put into the mouth of his characters reflections upon the conduct of the gods, which, if they may not be taken as his own deliberate opinions, are at least expressions of one aspect of his thought. It was, in fact, impossible to reconcile with a profound and philosophic view of the divine nature the intrigues and amours, partialities, antipathies, actions and counter-actions of these anthropomorphic deities. Consider, for example, the most famous of all the myths, that of Orestes, to which we have already referred. Orestes, it will be remembered, was the son of Agamemnon and Clytemnestra. Agamemnon, on his return from Troy, was murdered by Clytemnestra. Orestes escapes, but returns later at the instigation of Apollo, and kills his mother to avenge his father. Thereupon, in punishment for his crime, he is persecuted by the Furies. Now, the point which Euripides seizes here is the conduct of Apollo. Either it was right for Orestes to kill his mother, or it was wrong. If wrong, why did Apollo command it? If right, why was Orestes punished? Or are there, as Aeschylus would have it, two rights, one of Apollo, the other of the Furies? If so, what becomes of that unity of the divine law after which every religious nature seeks? Phoebus, cries the Orestes of Euripides, prophet though he be, deceived me. I gave him my all, I killed my mother in obedience to his command, and in return I am undone myself. The dilemma is patent, and Euripides makes no serious attempt to meet it. Or again, to take another example, less familiar, but even more to the point, the tale of Ion and Creusa. Creusa has been seduced by Apollo, and has borne him a child, the Ion of the story. This child she exposes, and it is conveyed by Hermes to Delphi, where at last it is found and recognized by the mother, and a conventionally happy ending is patched up. But the point on which the poet has insisted throughout is once more the conduct of Apollo. What is to be made of a god who seduces and deserts a mortal woman, who suffers her to expose her child, and leaves her in ignorance of its fate? Does he not deserve the reproaches heaped upon him by his victim? Child of Latona, I cry to the sun, I will publish thy shame. Thou, with thy tresses a shimmer with gold, through the flowers as I came plucking the crocuses, heaping my veil with their gold litten flame, camest on me, caughtest the poor pallid wrists of mine hands, and didst hale unto thy couch in the cave. Mother, mother, I shrieked out my wail, wroughtest the pleasure of Cypris, no shame made the god lover quail. Wretched, I bare thee a child, and I cast him with shuddering throe forth on thy couch, where thou forcedst thy victim, a bride bed of woe. Lost, my poor baby and thine, for the eagles devoured him. And lo, victory songs to thy lyre dost thou chant. Oh, I call to thee, son born to Latona, dispenser of boding, on gold gleaming throne midmost of earth, who art sitting. thine ears shall be pierced with my moan. Thy Delos doth hate thee, thy bay boughs abhor thee.